Warning: motorsport is a dangerous activity. The events you're about to see were filmed in a controlled environment under the supervision of professionals. Do not attempt to recreate or reenact anything you see on this show.
Welcome back to Off-Road Addiction. In this episode, we go snow wheeling. Well, actually, Caleb goes snow wheeling. I stayed home. Tonight, we're going to install some chromoly sets from Trail Gear.
Not any chromoly sets, they are the super sets, and they are gun drilled with an 8mm grease disc in the end of it.
So you pull the hub off and you can grease these things up because, you know, when you beat on your trucks, it can be hard to keep on top of the servicing. So obviously everything you can do to make it easier, it's going to make everything last a lot longer. Should we do it then?
Let's do it.
Show the people at home.
Let's do it. After I have some more jerky. A 12-hour flight from little old home, New Zealand, landed myself, Shay and Lee in San Francisco in the United States. Ready for the road trip of a lifetime? A trip that would take us to visit a couple of our partners, meet new friends, take on Vegas and the Mint 400, and go wheeling in the snow with the Trail Gear F-Toy. We covered some serious miles on this trip. The road trip started with a 2-hour drive from the San Francisco airport out to Loomis to visit the Ruffstuff Specialties workshop, followed by a 3-hour drive to Fresno to the Trail Gear workshop. It was great to have the chance to meet up with some of our international partners in person. They both have some seriously cool workshops that create some quality off-road products. After spending a day and a half visiting our partners, the next stop was the bright lights and crazy nightlife that is Las Vegas. Sin City, baby.
Now that we've got the diff head in, we need to dismantle our axles from the old setup so that we can start assembling the new axles and splines to slide into the diff head. So in order for us to do so, we're taking the brake drum off from here, and it is a budget build, so we are using second-hand axles. So we will need to do a bit of a clean up and a tidy up of all the cylinders and such, but in the meantime we've got that off. Now on the back of the axle, and this one here, before that rolls away, it's obviously done a few Ks. It's got a bit of movement in the bearing. So there's a circlip down the base here that, again, because it was such an old axle, it's very stubborn to move, but it's a circlip. You just open it up and you can slide it up out the way, and that will allow the brake backing plate to slide off the axle. In order for us to do so, you get the axle, obviously with the circlip off, and in order for you to remove the backing plate from the axle, you need to thump it on the ground. You'd either use a press or you can do it this way. So I'm going to continue to work on this, and we will come back once we've actually managed to get somewhere. Woo!
After a 6-hour drive, we were welcomed by the bright lights of Las Vegas, the 24/7 non-stop party town where we spent 5 days filming the greatest off-road race in North America, the Mint 400. There were public displays, time trials, tech and contingency, and plenty of racing carnage. Once the Mint 400 was done and dusted, we hired a convertible and crammed all 3 of us in, including our luggage, to go for the maximum tourist look, and headed southeast for 8 hours to Arizona to visit our friends, the Campbell family. But we didn't stick around for very long because we had some snow wheeling to do. We had another 15 hours of driving ahead of us to get to Sacramento and meet up with our friend Tim Scully from Scully Offroad. I was pumped to finally get some seat time and even more excited about what I was going to drive. So
11 o'clock at night, when you're getting all excited to put your nice chromoly shafts in, just about to tap your wheel nuts in.
You can put them in, to be fair, but
when you decide to measure them and they're 30 mils shorter.
There's definitely the pitfalls of buying a project from somebody else or a truck that has been bastardized.
Yeah, somebody's chopped and changed. So what we can work out, this is the axle shaft that came out of it, and this is out of an 86 to 95 4Runner, Surf, Hilux, whatever. And what I ordered was 79 to 85, which is the early axle shafts, which I thought, being an 85 truck, that's what we were going to have. So unfortunately, being in New Zealand, we can't just go to the trail gear store in the morning and swap them out for the correct ones. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do there. Luckily, they're not a hugely expensive item. They were somewhat of a necessity / luxury item for us. We just wanted to future-proof these trucks. And Paul's got his axle stripped down out of his Suzuki, and he's nervous to go home and measure it. So yeah, back to the drawing board for us. Kind of sucks, but it's a budget build. You can't expect everything to go to plan. We'll just carry on and we'll work our way around it. I mean, the wheel bearing on this one was absolutely shot, wasn't it? We'll keep you guys updated when we come up with a solution, and it's project life. It's been going pretty damn smoothly so far, so can't complain.
Getting to see real snow for the first time was an awesome experience for me, especially when it meant going snow wheeling in California. But being able to sit in the driver's seat of the Trail Gear F-Toy made it unforgettable. I can't thank Trail Gear enough for the amazing opportunity. It was a 2-hour drive each way to go pick up the F-Toy, so thankfully Scully gave us his car trailer and his brand new Dodge Ram to tow it with, which has seriously made me consider getting one. That thing towed like a champ. We towed the F-Toy up to Georgetown along with Scully and his Jeep and Jeremy with his road legal Toyota 4Runner on 40s. We made a quick pit stop there to fuel up, grab some lunch before continuing up the mountain. We would be heading towards Loon Lake and the start of the Rubicon Trail, which I was very keen to explore. As we got further up, the temperature kept dropping and more snow started to appear until the whole span of road turned into a snowy off-road track. The trucks were driven off the trailers and tow vehicles parked up out the way. It was time to have some fun in the snow.
Off-Road Addiction TV is proud to be representing some of the leading brands in the industry. Please make sure you support the guys that support us.
Hey, today we're out at Loon Lake. We're headed to the Rubicon in the snow, and unfortunately the snow is pretty deep. I'm Tim Scully. We're here with Off-Road Addiction TV. I've come to know the Off-Road Addiction guys from meeting them at SEMA, and they're an awesome crew. We're super excited to hang out with them. A little bit about my background. In the past 15 years, I've worked as a professional driver for both Land Rover and Toyota, and I've built many off-road vehicles. We have a 4x4 fab shop called Scully Offroad, and you can catch up with us at scullyoffroad.com or find us on Instagram at Scully Offroad.
Now for me, driving in the snow, not only was it my first time actually seeing proper snow, but to be able to drive on it was an unreal experience. It's quite hard pack and it's quite nice to drive on, but it's much like sand. If you lose traction and you keep your wheels spinning, you just dig yourself down into a hole. The Trail Gear F-Toy is running 38-inch tires, so I had the baby tires, you know, hard life. It's got the doubler in it, so you can lower your ratios right down to crawl speed. It was quite interesting getting used to driving. Of course, left-hand drive, I'm used to right-hand drive, so being a manual, the gear stick was on the wrong side for me. But to be able to drive that thing out there, have that little 22R screaming away in some serene scenery was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, after our complete disaster of ordering the wrong axles, decided to get stuck into the front end. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to start off by putting the diff head on here. Easiest way to do it is just use your finger and just smear your gasket maker around here. Now the trick is to make sure you've got a clean surface to work with. Make sure you get around all the bolt holes as well, it's the important part. And make sure you get the high temp stuff too, just in case. Right, now the fun job begins. Lifting big heavy diff head into place.
just like that. Now, I do find it very easy to lay everything out in the correct order that it has to go onto the axle. So this is everything that comes with the Trail Gear Knuckle rebuild kit, and comes with everything except for wheel bearings. The wheel bearings I've got are actually in alright condition, so I'm going to reuse those. As you can see, I've already pressed in the new bearing races for the kingpins, and I'm pretty impressed with the kit. It comes with a lot of good stuff. So I'm going to carry on here, tighten up my diff head, and then we can get stuck in to the next stage. After getting some snow on the tyres, we came across Uncle Tom's cabin. Now, when they said we're going to go see Uncle Tom's cabin, I thought, okay, cool, some kind of abandoned cabin in the middle of nowhere that people go take some pictures at. Boy, was I wrong. We got there was Wi-Fi, there was a fire, there was a bar with cold beer, and there's thousands of $1 bills that people sign and stick to the roof. And it was just incredible. Now, we're about 15 miles from the Rubicon, which is a bucket list track for me, so we're hoping we're going to get to the entrance of it, but it's not likely because there's a lot of snow on the ground. I've never wheeled in the snow before, and I'm looking forward to exploring some deep powder. Right, well, when you're out wheeling in the snow and you come across Uncle Tom's cabin and they've got a sled on the deck, you got to just jump on this thing and go for a hoon. So Scully's going to show us what's up. After checking out Uncle Tom's cabin and doing some pretty average sledding in the snow, it was time to continue towards Loon Lake and the start of the Rubicon Trail. We ended up meeting up with Robert in his Jeep, who is a local and a regular on this trail, and decided to join us the rest of the way.
I've been coming up here since 1970. I rode the Rubicon Trail on a Honda Trail 90 in 1970. Talk about a challenge. I moved up here in 2000, and I live in Quintet, and I get to do this every day up here.
The snow was nice and deep and perfect conditions for the newbie snow wheeler to get stuck. Wheeling in the snow is a little bit different to what I'm used to. Normally in the mud you kind of gas it up a little bit. The nearest thing I can compare it to is it's like driving in the sand, but there's almost traction there. You got to be very gentle when you're going forward and back. So as Scully was just teaching me, obviously it's my first time driving in the snow. So yeah, Scully's given me a few good pointers. Just rock it nice and easy. Don't use the gas, and try and use the snow as traction to climb out of the hole. So that didn't work, because when I get stuck I do it properly. So Jeremy's just hooking up. We're gonna get a snatch out of here by the looks of it. Just a nice easy tug and we'll be on our way again. All part of the fun. With Scully's help, the F-Toy was recovered and back in action. So naturally, this seemed like the perfect time to initiate a snowball fight. Needless to say, Scully had done this before.
Get out of it! You have picked a fight! You picked a snowball fight with the wrong man!
Now, as you will see, I've got the felt on first, which is a Trail Gear exclusive. They do this nice thick felt cover. Then we have the rubber seal, and then we have the metal guard which goes on the inside. So let me grab this housing, and as you can see, I've pressed in new bearing races, and we've got new kingpin bearings top and bottom on both sides. So we'll put that in there, grab our arm, sit that in there nicely like that. Beautiful. And you put your spindle on the end here, and just put the end of your axle in. And what you got to do is turn it and see if there's any kind of clearance issues. Like that. So what we're going to do is undo these two bolts holding it, put a little bit of spray paint inside, and then put this back on and turn it again, and it'll nick the spray paint and it'll show you where it's hitting. And we're going to get our die grinder and just grind it out a little bit. Completely normal. You sometimes have to do it, you sometimes don't. The last pair we put into the Patrol, we didn't need to. This pair, we have to. Now what we're going to do is get this to sit nicely inside the back of the housing. Not always an easy task, so make sure you have plenty of patience when you do this.
Off-Road Addiction TV is proud to be representing some of the leading brands in the industry. Please make sure you support the guys that support us.
Now I didn't actually get a full rundown on the vehicle, so I'm just going to have to wing it. But basically it's running Trail Gear Rock Assault 9s underneath it. It's got trail gear leaf springs on it. We're running Bilstein shocks. It's got a 22R engine on propanes. They've hotted up the engine as far as I know. It's got headers and stuff like that. Makes a hell of a racket, that's for sure. We've got our nice bucket seats in here, the trail gear doubler in here so we can go into super low. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive selection. Then we've got low range, then we've got super low range for rock crawling. Now he's running the trail gear creeper beadlocks. These things look awesome. They're nice and thick. They're all CNC machined. They're all cut out. Now back here, it's also running a Rock Assault rear axle. Got the trail gear leaf springs. Running a trail gear 8,000 pound winch. It's got the trail gear hydraulic steering assist on it. All in all, it is a very simple vehicle. Now obviously we're out in the snow. It's not the ideal conditions for a rock crawler, but it has done very well. It has surprised me and it's gone everywhere I've needed it to. I've only been stuck once out of my own stupidity. It wasn't long before we had reached a break in the snow onto a clear tar seal road. We were very close to Loon Lake and the start of the Rubicon Trail. We all made our way down the snowy bank and headed down the road with massive walls of snow on either side, showing how deep the snow really was. Once we reached the end of the road, we climbed back up into the snow, revealing the vast and frozen Loon Lake.
So we're out at Loon Lake today at the beginning of the Rubicon Trail. The snow's incredibly deep. Today we brought out our 81 CJ8. This is a scrambler. We've got a Chevy 350 with fuel injection on it, a Turbo 400 with our manual valve body, and a Dana 300 locking it down. So the vehicle performs really well in the snow. It's outfitted with a Dana 44, both front and rear. It's got 39-inch KRTBs from BFG. We got a Warn winch on the front. We love this vehicle because it gets through the snow really well. We've dropped the pressure down because we have our Raceline bead locks. We got 17-inch monster bead locks. We got them dropped down to about 3 pounds with no problems.
Right, so we've got our knuckle housing on. We're on to the next step, which is putting the chromoly axle and CV into the housing. First, I'm going to throw some grease on it, and I'm going to double check that there's enough grease on my inner axle seal. Right, here we go. Famous last words, it's supposed to be easy. And we're in, just like that. Well, I've done a bit of cleaning up, assembled everything. We've put the brake cover back on, put the spindle on, bolted it down. Now, we're on to our last part, putting the worn, grooved brake disc back on. And as you'll see on the back of here, the trail gear kit came with new seals, so I whipped out the old seal, knocked in the new seal. That's basically all we've got to do, except putting on our lock washer. So we're going to put our thrust washer on, line it up with the groove, grab our twin locking nuts. We'll put our first locking nut on, then we've put our star lock on there, and then we've put our second locking nut on. So once we put that on, we need to fold these tabs over, and that stops it from undoing. It sits in a groove in between, and then your wheels don't fall off. The trail gear superset comes with either the chromoly dry flanges or chromoly hub gears. So if you still want to retain your manual hubs, you can. I'm simply going to put these dry flanges on because this is a trailer truck only and it's never going to go on the road. It comes with a new gasket. Simply slide the gasket on, dry flange, all done. Now I've still got the other side to do. It is exactly the same principle as doing this. We've come to the halfway point and this has been an absolutely stunning trip. Behind me is what they call Loon Lake. So that is all water during the summertime. It is just phenomenal to see how much snow is around. We don't really get stuff like this at home and we're certainly not privileged enough to be able to go wheeling in this kind of stuff. So for me, this has been an absolute highlight of our trip. And I cannot say thank you enough to Tim Scully, who lent us his tow vehicle and his trailer to go pick up the Trail Gear F toy, which is sitting over there behind me. And huge thank you to Matt at Trail Gear and Trail Gear themselves. They all stepped up and offered us the Trail Gear F toy to bring out wheeling, which I never would have thought I'd be able to wheel my own vehicle in this country. I just cannot say thanks enough to those guys. It's the first time I've had some seat time in the last 2 years, so I'm absolutely pumped. I'm pretty excited. Like, this is awesome stuff. I'm just living on adrenaline. I've just had an absolute blast. It's just been so cool to wind up our America trip, coming out into the snow, and you know, we get to go to the entrance of the Rubicon. Not many people can say they've wheeled in the snow to the entrance of the Rubicon. Normally when it snows you cannot get near it, and this is probably about as close as we are able to get. Now this trip was absolutely phenomenal. It was so good catching up with old friends, making new friends, new experiences, and road tripping through the United States of America. We can't wait to get back and see what the next adventure brings us. Coming up in the next episode, we go to the NZ1000, New Zealand's longest enduro race. Check us out on social media, where we post daily pictures and videos to keep you entertained until your next off-road addiction fix.
We're at Off-Road Addiction and you're back.
Paul's favourite part of the Jack Links jerky is this little gadget right here that says do not eat. It's the first thing every time he pulls out of the bar or out of the bag.
I didn't even mean to do that.
What we've got is the Rares, an incredibly good looking guy with a beard.
And Caleb. All right, I feel like you don't appreciate me.
Don't hide your feelings the whole time.
We got this chromoly trail gear, chromoly.
Tromollies.
Good luck with that, mate. I'm out.